Coming up on this Thursday edition of Daybreak, the South Korean government convenes an emergency meeting after confirmation 2 drones found in South Korea were from North Korea. In a move that is sure to inflame tensions, Japan is set to unveil new middle and high school textbooks this week that make renewed claims to Korea's Dokdo Island. Plus, authorities in Chile are assessing the damage from a massive earthquake that struck off the northern coast, causing a small tsunami, but the impact was mostly limited. Daybreak begins now. Hello and thanks for joining us to our viewers here in Korea and around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Thursday, April 3rd here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom and you're tuned in to Daybreak. Our top story this morning, the South Korean government held an emergency meeting at the presidential office Wednesday evening following confirmation that the 2 drones that crashed into South Korea over the last 2 weeks were from North Korea. Presided over by President Park's National Security Advisor Kim Jang-soo, South Korea's ministers of defense, unification and foreign affairs discussed how to beef up the country's air defenses and surveillance against such unmanned aircraft. The South Korean military concluded Wednesday that the drone found on an island just south of the western maritime border this week, as well as another one found late last month south of the demilitarized zone, were from North Korea. The rather elementary-looking drones were found to contain photos of military installations and even the residential quarters of Seoul's presidential compound. They are also capable of holding up to 1 kilogram of explosives. Following up on their trilateral summit in the Netherlands last week, South Korea, Japan and the US have agreed to hold chief delegate Sixparty talks next week to discuss the continued nuclear threat posed by North Korea. According to diplomatic sources in Washington, the delegates from the 3 countries will discuss joint countermeasures after North Korea hinted at conducting a new form of nuclear test. Seoul has yet to appoint a chief delegate for the talks. The post has been vacant since the previous official was named vice foreign minister. The last time the 3 countries held Six-party delegate talks was in November of last year. The actual Six-party talks involving the 2 Koreas, the US, China, Japan and Russia have not been held since December 2008. The co-leader of the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy has proposed an inter-Korean summit and sending a South Korean delegation to Pyongyang if needed to improve ties between the 2 Koreas. In an address to the National Assembly on Wednesday, An Chol-soo said the summit should be viewed by the Park Geun-hye administration as a step toward reunification after gaining support from the public. With regard to improving the livelihoods of the South Korean people, the co-chief suggested holding meetings with the ruling party every first week of the month. An, however, also took a swipe at President Park's reform drive. He said her steps to remove excessive regulations on business activity should be done with more caution. The Japanese government is expected to bolster its territorial claims over Korea's Dokdo Island in a review of its school textbooks this week. There's also speculation the Abe administration may backtrack on its landmark apology to the victims of Japan's wartime sexual enslavement. Our Hwang Sang-hee has this report.
Diplomatic sources in Seoul said Wednesday that Japan's education ministry will convene a meeting on Friday to release the screening results of its elementary school textbooks. The revised versions are expected to carry stronger claims over Korea's Dokdo Island. The island, which is physically closer to Korea in the body of water that divides the Korean peninsula and Japan, has long been a thorn in bilateral relations. The Japanese government initially planned to unveil the new textbooks last month, but postponed it ahead of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's first official meeting with President Park Geun-hye in The Hague to demonstrate Japan's sincerity to mend ties with Korea. But that sincerity is now once again in question. Ahead of his meeting with President Park, Abe pledged to uphold a landmark apology to victims of Japan's wartime sexual enslavement. But Japanese opposition lawmaker Tatsuki Eda said at a seminar in Washington, D.C. Tuesday that the Abe administration still intends to review the Kono statement and issue a revised version sometime next year. Eda, who expressed concern about the move, added the new statement would contain Japan's official stance on war and draw international attention. The Japanese government reiterated Tuesday it does not plan on revising the existing apology, but that it will verify the way in which the statement was composed. While Korea and Japan were expected to hold working-level talks on the so-called comfort women issue this month, the chances of such a meeting taking place now appear slim. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
The United States has confirmed that 35 Japanese war criminals are banned from entering the U.S. That's more than double the 16 previously reported. U.S. Justice Department spokesman Peter Carr provided the new figure in an interview with Korea's Yonhap news agency, although he declined to give any more details about those who are on the list. Sources say roughly 20 belonged to Japan's infamous Unit 731, which carried out horrifying experiments on live human subjects during World War II. Most of the others are related to the establishment of so-called comfort stations or military facilities where women were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military. The list of Japanese war criminals banned from entering the U.S. was first established in 1996.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
Turning now to the latest on the massive earthquake that hit Chile yesterday. Nearly 1 million people were evacuated across the country amid fears the magnitude 8.2 quake had triggered a tsunami. But although there were power cuts, fires and landslides, the worst hit areas appear to have avoided suffering any significant damage. Our Shin Se-min reports.
Please just help us. Please pray for Arirang.
It was very strong. It was very long. Everything moved. All we could do was pray with our daughter.
A magnitude 8.2 earthquake struck off the coast of northern Chile Tuesday evening local time, causing landslides and prompting authorities to issue a tsunami warning that forced those in coastal areas to evacuate. The U.S. Geographical Survey said the quake centered 98 kilometers northwest of the Chilean mining port of Iquique, 20 kilometers deep in the Pacific Ocean at 8:46 p.m. Tuesday. The Chilean president has declared 3 northern regions hit by the quake as disaster areas. Waves of up to 2.1 meters were reported earlier in some areas. And power is still out for thousands of local residents in Chile, and some roads have been cut off due to landslides. In the hours since the earthquake, multiple aftershocks have rattled the region, including at least one in the magnitude 6 range. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, we're just getting word that Japan has issued a tsunami alert following that earthquake in Chile. The Japan Meteorological Agency says a tsunami of up to around 1 meter is expected to hit Japan and to a lesser extent Korea, actually, early Thursday. And we'll bring you the extra details on that as we get them. Now, Korea's top economic policymaker has made quite an unusual move, but one that's expected to boost policy coordination with the nation's central bank. Finance Minister Hyun Oh-seok on Wednesday paid a visit to the Bank of Korea and met with new Governor Lee Ju-yeol to congratulate him on his new position. There, Hyun relayed his hopes to create harmony in terms of economic policies and stay on the same page as Lee over current economic conditions at home and abroad. The two economic policymakers also agreed that while the domestic economy is on track to recovery, the US Federal Reserve's stimulus tapering and the slowing Chinese economy could potentially hurt momentum. Pundits say it's unusual for a finance minister to visit the BOK to meet its chief. Korea's Trade Ministry will hold a second round of preliminary talks in the coming days on joining the US-led Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, starting with the United States this week. Korean trade representatives will meet with their US counterparts in Washington on this Thursday, followed by more talks in Ottawa, Canada, next Monday. The additional discussions are intended to help Korea determine whether it will formally join in the TPP negotiations. Korea's Trade Ministry says it will make a final decision on its participation during the first half of this year after assessing the possible economic impact. The trade pact currently involves 12 countries. There are now just under 200 days to go until Korea opens one of the world's largest conferences on information and communications technologies. The UN-affiliated International Telecommunications Union Plenipotentiary Conference will take place in Korea's southern port city of Busan this October. The Science and ICT Ministry, which is organizing the 3-week-long event, says around 150 ministerial-level officials from nearly 200 member countries will be in attendance. Officials will focus on promoting international cooperation on technology development, with Korea putting an extra emphasis on sharing knowledge about how to converge ICT with other industries. The ICT Ministry is also confident that the event will generate more than $650 million worth of economic impact by attracting some 3,000 participants and 300,000 additional tourists. Now, if it's innovative ideas you want, Korea's Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute is in a league of its own. For the third year in a row, the institute has been ranked the world's #1 innovation center by a US-based research institute. Our Na Hyung-kyung reports.
One of the world's leading business patent databases, IPIQ, says Korea's Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute has maintained its status as the #1 innovation center in the world. That's among some 300 government agencies, institutions, and universities around the globe, assessed by the IPIQ for their innovation drive and ability to collaborate with other organizations.
They've outperformed the competition on developing patents around the hottest technologies in the space right now. We call it innovation cycle time, and ETRI is winning in this area by producing patents in some of the most relevant, hottest sectors.
The state-run ETRI, based in Daejeon, took the top spot this year with a patent count of nearly 900. That total is 85% higher than that of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the second-best organization on the scorecard. Aside from ETRI, the only non-American organization in the top 10 was Taiwan's Industrial Technology Research Institute. The ETRI has earned patent royalties totaling around 160 billion won, or roughly $150 million over the past 5 years, chief among them being patents related to the 3G mobile telecommunications technology. The Science and ICT Ministry says ETRI's achievements are a testimony to Korea's information and communications technology prowess and proof that the country can succeed in building a creative economy, President Park Geun-hye's key administrative goal. A government official added that it will continue to help the institute focus more on the quality of Korea's patents from now on. Na Hyun-kyung, Arirang News.
Korea's benchmark KOSPI edged over the psychologically important 2,000 mark at one point on Wednesday for the first time this year, backed by solid economic data from home and abroad. Although the market finished up at 1997, just below the 2,000 level, it was the highest close in 3 months. The tech-heavy Kosdaq gained 8.5 points to over 557. Analysts say in the short term the market will be affected by a number of factors, one of them being a Samsung Electronics performance report. That's going to be released next week. A key US jobs report coming this Friday is another factor analysts are looking at. On the foreign exchange counter, the local currency ended at 1,056 won against the greenback. Well, now for a look at the international headlines, we're going to connect live to our Eunice Kim, who's standing by at the News Centre. Good morning to you, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. Let's begin with an update on the Ukraine crisis. IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde says the East-West standoff over Ukraine is already showing signs of pressure on the Russian economy and could pose a threat to the global economy already, quote, too weak for comfort. In Washington, Lagarde said talk of sanctions against Russia has had their effect when you look at the growing capital outflow and the change in Russia's monetary policy. Russian policymakers raised borrowing costs in March to the highest level since 1998. Meanwhile, NATO's military chief Philip Breedlove said Russian troops were ready to move into Ukraine within 12 hours of a given order. He told CNN 40,000 troops are amassed in their border, supported by aircraft and all the logistics required for a successful incursion. The United States is troubled by Iran's choice for its ambassador to the United Nations and has communicated its misgivings to Tehran. Hamid Abutalebi, a veteran Iranian diplomat, was a member of a student group that has stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran in 1979 to hold 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. The State Department called the nomination extremely troubling, but has not commented on whether a U.S. visa would be declined to Abutalebi, required to enter the UN headquarters in New York. And following a blow at Sunday's local elections and a new prime minister pick, French President François Hollande has reshuffled his cabinet, and among the new faces, his ex-partner and mother of his 4 children, Ségolène Royal. Royal was given the post of Environment and Energy Minister. She is no stranger to politics. She served as Education and Family Minister under François Mitterrand and ran a presidential campaign in 2007, losing to Nicolas Sarkozy. Hollande also placed other prominent socialists, including Michael Sapin, as finance minister, in a move apparently meant to balance his earlier choice of Manuel Valls, a right-winger, as his new prime minister. And in the latest militant attack in Egypt, a series of bombs went off near Cairo University, killing at least 2 people, including a police brigadier general on Wednesday. No one has immediately claimed responsibility for that attack, but Islamist insurgents are suspected, as they have carried out similar operations against government targets since the ousting of President Mohamed Morsi last July. This attack also comes ahead of a presidential election slated for next month. Stem cell scientist Haruko Obokata said she will not retract her doctoral dissertation. This a statement through a lawyer. Obokata earlier this week was found to have falsified research data in stem cell research that would have been a game changer if true. The research involved a surprising new way to generate stem cells from already developed cells, but a committee of investigators led by her own institute probed her study after other researchers could not repeat her findings.
And a good Thursday morning to you all as we kick things off with the Incheon Asian Games. Of course, with the event taking place later this year, the organizers are now asking for the help of the IOC in regards to North Korea's participation. Now, Kim Young-soo, the president of the organizing committee for the Incheon Asian Games, met with the president of the IOC, Thomas Bach, and asked for his help in making sure North Korea participates in the upcoming Asian Games. While North Korea has stated that they will participate in some of the events, organizers want to make sure it will happen amid the North-South tensions going on in the peninsula. And now moving over to Game 1 of the KBL Championship Series between the Ulsan Mobis Phoebus and the Changwon LG Sakers. Of course, going into the game here, Mobis off to a hot start, take a 24-11 lead before LG rallies in the second quarter to cut the deficit to 36-33 going into halftime. Now LG continues to far away from the paint as they outscore Mobis 27-19, take a 60-55 lead going into the fourth quarter.
But despite Davon Jefferson and his 27 points and 9 rebounds, Mobis comes back in the fourth quarter to take game 1, 77-74. And sticking with the championship series, but over in Game 4 of the Women's V-League Championship Series between the GS Cartex and IBK Altos, with IBK one win away from back-to-back championships. But that's not going to happen easily, as GS Cartex's blocking game stops IBK's offense all throughout the night, as Bethania de la Cruz de Peña explodes with a championship record of 54 points on the night, helping GS Cartex take this match 3-1 to force this to a decisive Game 5. And now shifting over to some Wednesday night's KBO action, as the NC Dinos beat the Kia Tigers 8-7 with LG all over SK 8-3. And the Hanwha Eagles crushed the Samsung Lions 10-5. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the Tucson Bears take on the Nexen Heroes. Now, of course, Chris Volstead looking for his first win here in Korea, as Jorge Cantu in the second inning of the game drills this one to deep left field, gone a solo shot, and it's 1-0 Tucson. Same inning, men on second and third, Yang Yi-ji through the left side, and it's 2-0. Next play, Kim Jae-ho this time flies out to right, a sac fly makes it 3-0. But the bottom of the inning, bases loaded, pass ball scores Park Byung-ho, and it's 3-1. Go over to the fourth inning. Nexen starts rallying. Munuram singles to left, and it's 3-2. Gonna shift over to the fifth inning. Min Byung-hun sends this to right, just over the wall, makes it 4-2. Next inning, Yang Yi-ji, and here it goes, deep to straightaway center field. Back, gone, as Tucson scores 2 more times in the inning for a 7-2 lead. Seventh inning this time, Lee Sung-yeol drives this one to deep right, and it's gone. But wait, next batter, Munuram, and it's deja vu all over again. Back-to-back solo shots. But no matter, as the Tucson Bears hold on to win this game 9-5 with Chris Volstead earning his first win in Korea. And now finishing things off with some AFC Champions League group stage results, and a great night for the K-League Classic teams, as the Pohang Steelers beat Shandong Luneng 4-2, with Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors beating the mighty Gwangju Evergrande 1-0. So with that said, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the warm and sunny weather we had yesterday, because we'll track much colder air today in the Seoul metro area. Afternoon highs will be dropping to 14 degrees Celsius here in Seoul. Now, that's 8 degrees lower than yesterday. And we have sporadic showers that's expected in Gyeongsangdo and the capital area starting this afternoon, and winds will make it feel chillier than actual temperatures. Also, there's a chance that parts of Gangwon-do will receive snowfall of up to 7 centimeters later in the day. Well, the temperatures we'll see today is a bit above the seasonal averages, but after days of relatively warm air, it will feel cool and breezy. And here are those numbers. Well, the morning low in Seoul is starting out at 9, similar to yesterday, but after the highs will only soar to 14, while Daegu and Gwangju will top out at 22 and 19, and Busan should also rise to 19. Now, let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like down on Jeju, Daejeon, and Dokdo will all peak to 17, while Mount Gyeongang will have much colder day, picking up to 5. Well, that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world.
And those are the stories we have for you at this hour. Korea Today is coming up in about half an hour's time. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.